Hey guys, Adam from Splendid Sports, back for another sports card grading experiment. And in this one, I want to pose the question and give some thoughts on why do so few cards cross over from one grading company to another when they're not cracked out of their slabs. You hear it all the time. I don't know the exact numbers, but it's a very, very low percentage of cards that cross over from, let's say, if you have a BGS Beckett graded card that's a 9.5 gem mint that you want to cross over to a PSA 10, or even an SGC 10 that you want to cross over to a PSA 10, or even a SGC 5 vintage card that you want to cross over to a PSA vintage 5. Very, very few of those ever cross over if they're kept in the slab. But when you crack them out, it sure seems like, and in my experience too, when you crack them out, there's a much higher percentage that cross over to the grade that you were hoping for. So I'm going to give my thoughts on that at the end here. But first, actually want to just quickly thank everyone who commented on my last video, Is AI the Future of Sports Card Grading? Got a lot of comments, emails, messages on Instagram. So thank you for all that feedback. It's clearly a topic that many, many people are very interested in. So this video here is going to be, like I said, another experiment. And I mainly collect graded cards, so I have a deep interest in it. I like doing these type of videos and experiments and getting my opinions out there, and then also hearing other people's opinions. I really enjoy that. I also want to clarify quickly too, in that last video, I said I 100% think that AI is going to be the future for sports card grading, but I hope it isn't true. My hope would be that I don't want people to lose their jobs. You know, there's a lot of professional expert sports card graders working at these companies, and I don't want them to lose their jobs. I hope they can keep their jobs. The ideal situation that I would hope for is that you can have something called managed AI, where you have the AI generating these awesome reports for collectors that gives them information that they want, but then you combine that with the human element of grading. So, you know, I don't know if that will happen, but that would be my hope, that, you know, people keep their jobs, but you bring in AI to make the experience more efficient and better for the collector. All right, so with today's experiment, this is a card that I've had on my want list for a long time. So I want to show you here first. I'm a Tom Brady collector. 2002 is a very interesting year for Tom Brady with sports cards. You know, his rookie year of cards is 2000. And then 2001, he was only in like 3 issues. He only had like 3 mainstream cards in 2001, which is crazy to think about. 2002 was really his year where he had a lot of cards. He was in a lot of cards, you know, because he was a relative unknown until they won that Super Bowl. And then in 2002, that was the debut of him in Topps, believe it or not. You know, he didn't have a Topps card till 2002, and he came into the league in 2000. So I had a idea of making a run of what I'd call the trilogy of his 2002 Topps cards. So we start off here with the base card. This is a card that's really tough to get in gem mint condition. This is his 2002 Topps card, base card, and it's in a PSA 10. So I've had that one. And then I also have the Topps Chrome. So he has the Topps Chrome, same design. I love that green on this card. And this is also in a PSA 10. So the big card, I mean, these are big cards, but the big card is his Black Refractor, numbered to 599. And that's a very special card because that's his first Topps Refractor. In that year of Topps Chrome, you know, it wasn't like a lot of the sets that come out now where they have a million different refractors and parallels and all this stuff. He basically had the Topps Chrome. For Topps Chrome, he had the Topps Chrome, obviously that Topps base card, and then he had the Topps Chrome Black Refractor. So I was able to purchase, I'm going to pull up an image here. I was able to purchase this right here. So this is beautiful Topps Chrome Black Refractor, numbered 599, Tom Brady, number 100. and this is in a BGS 8. So you can see that with the subgrades, right up my alley. The centering has 9.5. So you got Gen Mint centering, 8.5 on the edges, 8.5 on the corners, and a 7 on the surface. So that surface is really what would bring that grade down to an 8 there. Now, for me personally, I like consistency, especially with little mini runs. And so because I got these other two in the PSA slab, my hope was that I could take this and convert this into, let's say, a PSA 8, with the hope that I could even maintain that same grade. Regardless, this has the eye appeal that I was looking for. If you look up, PSA 9s and some even PSA 10s, I think there's only like 12 PSA 10s of this. And, there's a decent amount of PSA 9s, but a lot of them are off-centered right to left, which for me is, even in modern cards, is something that I look for, especially with cards like this where you have a distinct border. So I wanted a centered one. So this is the copy for me. So what my plan was, I'm going to send this over to PSA. Now, obviously, you have two options when you're trying to do this type of crossover. You can send it in the slab, but I'll get into that after I reveal what the grade came back as. I didn't opt for that. I've tried that a bunch of times actually in the past. With this one, I decided I'm going to crack this one out and I'm going to send it in raw to PSA. So the next image here is the card after I cracked it out. Still got the label there. Cracked it out and I got it back. So here we go. Another experiment reveal here. Let's see what it came back as with PSA. It was a PSA 8. So we have a successful crossover. I kept the same grade from Beckett over to PSA. And then there's the back, number 436 out of 599. And then here's the card in person, in hand. Beautiful refractor, black refractor there. So very happy with that result. Now, that was a win for me. So from a collecting standpoint, I now have my consistency. I have all three of these in PSA slabs, so I can group them together and feel really great about them. I don't plan on selling this card anytime soon. But from a financial standpoint, why people try to do these crossovers is if you look at what this card in a Beckett 8 sells for versus a PSA 8, you're talking a big difference. You're talking maybe sometimes even double the price. So from that standpoint, you could call that a success too. So the question then, the large question here, number one, why did I crack it out? Well, I have tried to cross over. I've never sent that card in the slab, but I've tried many slabs sent over to PSA, and I have never actually had a crossover. I've never had one come back as the same grade that it was currently in the other company slab, or let alone higher, for sure not, but never even the same grade. It's always been, one or a half grade or one or two, sometimes even two grades lower with PSA. So, and this is not just, I've seen this many times. I've heard Nat Turner even talk about it, the head of Collectors Universe, that, he doesn't get a lot of success with crossovers when they're in the slab. So part of me is thinking, that the initial thought is, well, they've got to be biased, right? There's got to be a bias there, and they're very well maybe when they see another company's logo and slab in a certain grade, maybe they're trained, or maybe the impulse is to think, well, it can't possibly be that same grade or higher in our grading system in our slabs because we're better. For some reason, I guess that's considered better, to be tougher graders, to never honor the same grade. And number one, I think that's bad for the industry. So yeah, I don't think it's great for the overall hobby when you see, companies call it the same thing. They call it near mint, or they call it gem mint, or they call it whatever the name for the grade is. That's consistent across these different companies: SGC, PSA, BGS, for the most part. But a lot of times when you see these attempted crossovers, you'll see swings of like 3 grades between companies. And I've seen it back the other way too. I've seen PSA slabs that get sent to Beckett, and Beckett doesn't cross them over at a high rate at all, a very low rate. So it's almost like this gamesmanship going on, maybe, that is, in my opinion, not great for the hobby. So I would like to see that end. I don't have a lot of confidence that it will. So that's why you see most people now do the crack out game, like I did with this one. You crack it out and you send it into the company, and more times, many more times over than if you just sent it in the slab, you'll get what I just did here, which would be called a successful crossover. So you have that potential bias factor that you see with these companies. But another thing that I've been thinking about that I haven't heard a ton about, at least on things that I've watched or listened to. How would these companies, maybe a big part of why you see such low crossover rates when the card is sent in still on the other company's slab, how would they possibly be confident that a card could be a certain grade if it's in the slab still? I mean, like for example, PSA, I know they inspect the surface of the card maybe more stringently than some of these other companies. So, that's the reputation that they grade, maybe under magnification, or they grade what the eye can't see a little tougher, or just overall the surface tougher than BGS or even SGC. So how would they then be able to take a Beckett slab? Not only is it in the slab, but then it's in the inner sleeve, which I'm not a fan of, because it makes it harder to see the card. So how would they really inspect the card in a Beckett slab and be confident that, okay, this is a BGS 8, and this would be a PSA 8? Like, they can't be that confident, right? I mean, this is what I want to get feedback on. How good of a job can they actually do inspecting the surface of a card in a Beckett slab to know that, oh, we can crack this out and it will get the grade that the person wants? Because you can put that minimum grade on it. So if you send in a Beckett slab that's an 8, you can put a minimum grade and tell PSA, if it's not going to be a PSA 8 or higher, send me back the slab. And a lot of people do that. I've done that before, and I've always gotten the slab back. So that's a question that I want to get feedback on. Is maybe part of that is PSA is only going to really crack it out and cross it over if it's very, very clear. And I would guess in pretty much all these circumstances, it's not that clear until you actually crack it out of the slab. So that's something that maybe we got to consider. And just another reason why pretty much everyone now is cracking these slabs and sending the cards in. So I guess that's just the way it has to be. In a perfect world, I don't feel like I'm an expert slab cracker. I'm getting a little better at it, but yeah, it is a nerve-wracking thing that I'd rather have PSA do. But again, if you're going to have almost no success with crossing over grades, then you got to really crack them out if that's what you want to do. So, guys, let's hear the feedback. Let me know what you think. Appreciate all the comments and the messages, and I'm going to keep doing these grading videos because I really am interested in this stuff. I enjoy it. I enjoy following these companies. PSA is grading 1 million cards a month. SGC's lowering prices, and there's a lot going on in the grading industry, and I'm going to keep talking about it. So thanks for tuning in. I'll catch you on the next one.